This is it, the first edition of Kelly and Company for 2025. As we all get used to typing 2025, let's also talk about the expectations and opinions that we have on celebrities. How bad is it right now? Rebecca Dingwell is joining us to talk about the current culture of celebrity worship. Uh-oh, that doesn't sound too good. Also, when was the last time, speaking of not too good, you threw out your kitchen sponge, washed your dish towel, or replaced your pillows? We're going to talk about our discipline for home organization in a bit with Nisreen Abdelmajid and Ramya Amudan.
This is Kelly and Company.
The Kelly List Kelly and Company for at least another show or two. Nisreen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How's it going? How is
Pretty good.
2025 feeling one day in?
Well, it feels no different than the last
Really?
year, I have to say. And as lame as it sounds, I did sleep through the countdown.
Oh,
We were in bed by 11 and called it a night. And we're
okay.
like, are we too old for the countdown? Because we used to actually go out and,
Nathan Phillips Square?
spend time in Nathan Phillips Square or
Yep.
the Mississauga Square. And, they'd have like singers, artists come and right before the countdown do a little show, and then as the countdown starts, and it was just like epic and the
So cute.
fireworks. And now I'm like, it's too cold, it's too crowded,
Oh
don't
gosh.
want to be in that environment anymore. um I don't know what changed. I feel like, are we getting too old for this,
Oh,
or are we
less
just
tolerant for
done it?
sure. Less
Yeah.
tolerant is 1,000% because you know what I do now? I sit at home, cozied up, having whatever, like whatever I want, doing whatever I
Yeah.
want, chilling in my pajamas, and then I go, "Oh my gosh, it sucks for the people downtown trying to find an open entrance into a TTC subway
Mm,
station," because we know that public transit is free for at least like half a day.
yeah.
Right? TTC, Go Transit, and other public transits. Anyway, but if you're at Nathan Phillips Square, the closest subway station is Queen, right? Queen on one
Hmm.
side. But I had not for several years been able to get into a subway station until all the way north of Wellesley, like at least Wellesley, if not Bloor Young, if not even further up, further north.
Yeah,
So that's how bad it is when you're trying to get into the subway
it's too
station, and then
much.
yeah, it's way too much.
But then again, I hear people talk about, okay, I heard that in Times Square in New York,
Yes.
people were waiting from 3 to 6 a.m.
To
just
get home?
just to see the ball drop. No,
Oh,
I'm
oh,
talking
oh, from the
about
day before. Okay.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like 6 a.m. Can you imagine just staying there? And you're not allowed to bring chairs, you're not allowed to bring tents or whatever. You're not allowed to do any of that. So you're just standing there from 3 to 6 a.m. just waiting for the ball drop and
Yeah, I don't
some
think so.
fireworks. I personally don't think that's worth it. It's freezing cold. I'm just standing. My legs can't take that. I'm
It
not
was
down for
rainy
that.
and mucky too, New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
This
They
year?
had
Yeah, or last year?
so many umbrellas, like it looked like a mess, but
It
I would never
doesn't sound
stand.
too appealing. It used to be appealing. I think up until like 4 years ago, I actually wanted to go to see the ball drop, and it was a
Yeah.
kind of a bucket list, and then I just slowly, casually removed it off my bucket list. I'm like, "I don't think so."
Yeah, like,
Time is gone.
if the opportunity came, I would definitely go, but I wouldn't wait from, like, 3 to 6 a.m. just
No.
to be in
I
the
think if the
front.
opportunity came, I still wouldn't go anymore. I wanted to this is a bucket listing now, go to a comedy club for,
Ooh,
like, the countdown or whatever. Just it's something different, but still feels a bit curated, you know? It doesn't feel like you're
yeah,
just walking around, outside for fireworks.
yeah.
Have you done anything fun or interesting, like, for New Year's Eve? My parents and I
Well,
used to drive out to, Niagara Falls. Just drive out,
yeah,
see the
oh, they
fireworks,
had,
stay by
like,
the car, and then drive back home.
fun fireworks.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like back, years back, we used to do all sorts of things. Like, just the past couple years, we haven't went to Nathan Phillips Square or the square in Mississauga,
Uh-huh.
Celebration Square,
Yeah.
and, they used to have fun artists come, whether it's comedy or singers or rappers, and it would be so epic. And then the countdown began, and everybody
Mhm.
would be so hyped. But I feel like, nowadays is it's no, artist
Not
that
as
I
hype?
know, so it's like not as
Oh,
hyped.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too crowded. There's just way too many people. It's so hard to
We're
find a
just
parking
getting
spot.
old.
It's just out, leaving the house is a trip.
I know. I
Are
know.
we
Leaving the house,
saying it out loud,
actually.
I'm like, "Wow, I'm actually lame," saying
Yeah.
that,
No,
but,
definitely.
it's
I'm
it's just yeah,
I'm
it's
thinking,
not a
like, my parents and I, because my brothers were out this year, but my parents and I were home, and we're just chilling. We made it up till 12:25 a.m. We didn't intentionally go to bed at 11 like you, 'cause that's wow. I don't wanna I don't wanna ever do that.
and we
But
never sleep that early, it's just that day, and then we ended up waking up to people screaming Happy New Year at
you
12,
right,
so does
right.
that count? We still,
Sure, you jolted awake at New Year's, because
exactly.
other people were celebrating. Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, I think that counts.
That
Not
counts.
as lame as I thought.
Oh my. Okay, we do need to, like, we don't wanna be an echo chamber. Do need to get other people's opinions on New Year's Eve, because I think all like we're both like, "Yeah, let's just stay home. It's so much more
Right.
preferable." Christine Malec is here. Chris, did you
Hello.
do anything for New Year? Hi.
Well, I sort of did both. I stayed home, but by hosting a party. So I stayed
Oh,
home in the
fun.
cool way.
Yeah,
So that's our tradition is to host a New Year's Eve party. So you sort of get the best of both. You don't have to leave the house. People come to you. And one of the fun parts, they bring things, right? So there's all
true.
these innovative fun foods in our house that would never have had
Mhm.
otherwise. So I can walk around just 24 hours a day. Oh, I'll have a nibble of this cookie, or I'll eat some
Oh,
of
yeah.
those chips, or the baking that someone brought,
It never
that I
ends.
didn't have to do. It never ends. It never
Never
ends. So,
ends.
I'm not a big hype, like, I could just let midnight just slide by. I don't the hype sort of feels kinda contrived and not really my thing, but, it's a time that I'm sort of used to spending, with friends, and it's become a little
Mhm.
bit of a tradition, so that's how I spent New Year's this year.
That's sweet. And I have to follow up by asking, was that the only thing you hosted over the holidays, or did you do a
No.
bunch of hosting?
No, I did
Okay.
a bunch. We had, I hosted on Solstice, there was some music in the back alley at
Oh,
noon,
nice.
and then on Christmas Eve, we had people over, and on Christmas Day, we had other people over for dinner, and, I was sort of I'm fully peopled out by now,
I
and I think,
bet.
"Geez, next year I should back off a little, dial it back," but then I think, "But they're all so good, there's nothing I wanna give up of all that hosting," so
Mhm.
I never used to be this person back in my youth. I wasn't really the hosting person, but now I'm like, I just wanna host all the fun things and
I
do the
do
fun
love
stuff, so
hosting. Yeah, it is something about it,
yeah,
just, like, it's really
Bringing
exciting.
people
People
you're
come
in
together.
over.
control.
You're
You're
in
Oh,
in
that.
control.
control.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Except
It's
for
it's
when
just
people leave, you don't have control over that, but
sure. And
Yeah.
all the dishes, right? The dishes you gotta wash?
it's
That's
true.
my
There's
thing.
there's there's
Sink.
there's aftermath to contend with.
Mhm.
Mhm. I hosted Christmas at my house with the family, and that was enough hosting for me for the year. Like, absolutely.
You're
You're like,
done.
"You're
Wow.
done."
I'm talking about for 2024 and 2025. And that was
Wow.
Oh,
just my
that
immediate
rounded
family,
you
by
up
the
the
way.
whole yeah,
Yeah. It was just the
oh.
immediate family, nobody extra, and I was just like, "Whew. Okay, guys. See ya."
"Ooh, I'm done."
Yeah.
You
I'm
probably
done."
just kicked them out of the house at the end of it. You're like, "Okay, it's over.
The
Time to
recharge
leave."
took forever, because you know what it is? The planning up to hosting, the hype of it, the mental prep,
Yeah.
the cleaning and all that stuff, because I barely clean, is like, that takes a lot of energy. So then when the
It
day's
does.
done, yeah. So when the day and the event and the occasion's done, you're like, "Wow, that was, 2 weeks of my life."
Of all of the things, like
Yes.
especially the prepping your house, like, it's not that
Mhm.
I don't keep a clean house, I do, but,
Yeah.
it's not
It's
company
not
clean all the
this
time, so gotta
exactly,
tuck things
exactly.
away and
Yeah.
put things here and put things there, and then there's the people part, make sure everyone's
And
entertained and
yeah, I feel like I became my parents. When we were young, they would say, "Okay, clean your rooms, clean under your beds.
People are
People are
coming
coming
over.
over." And
Mhm.
in your mind, when you're young, you're like, "They're not
Why do
coming
we
up to my room.
Yeah, right.
Why do I have to clean my room for guests to come over to sit down in the living room?" It made no sense. But now, when I host, I have to clean every inch of my apartment,
You have
like
to.
no matter what,
Especially if your
just in
mom's coming
case they
over.
just Yeah, yeah.
That's another
Especially if
level.
your
That's
mother's
another
You'll
home.
hear
level. Yeah.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
another level. I'm like, "I left the room closed for a reason, mother, not so you can come in and check out my bedspread." Oh, dear.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. It's funny when when you're blind too, like I have sighted friends and I've come to accept it and be grateful for it, but she'll surreptitiously start scrubbing the cupboard door because there are
Oh my
things that I won't
god.
Yep.
see, right? If you lived with
Exactly.
someone who, yeah, because I do a fine job. I'm not ashamed of my abilities,
Mhm.
but there's just things you're gonna miss, right? And
Yeah.
so she's sort of secretively, I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing in
Yes.
the kitchen?" "Oh,
Yeah.
nothing." But she's
What?
got a rag in her hand, scrubbing the stains off.
Moms will be
Yeah.
moms.
That's actually
Moms.
cute though.
It is
It is.
sweet. It's really
It is.
it's sweetly meant, and
Yeah.
I've come to just say thank you so much because,
Yeah.
it's not that I'm lazy, which I am
Mhm.
often, but it's that stain isn't there because I'm lazy. It's just there because I didn't see it.
You
So,
can't see it.
yeah, go wild.
Exactly.
Go
Oh,
do it.
man. So, other things we wanted to talk about are photos and this really epic gift that you made,
Tee hee
that
hee hee.
you
I did make
conjured.
it. I conjured. Thank you. That's the right
Okay.
word. That's the right word.
Yeah.
So, and before I'll show it and describe it, but I'm going to start from a bigger picture so it makes more
Yes.
sense when we get to it. It's got to do with how AI has changed my relationship with photos, and I think a lot of us in the blind community because of descriptions. And so, I was thinking about how. Um, on a sighted person's desk, they might have one of those digital photo displays that just sort of randomly switches between photos, and you load photos on it, and randomly throughout the day you get reminded of something fun out of your past. And I got to wondering about how that could be done for a blind person. So my partner's blind and often works from home, and I wanted to have something for his desk where that that could be manifested. And so I
Mm.
thought about all the different technologies we have access to, and suddenly it becomes possible. And so um, I'm reaching over to my right, the screen's left, and I'm moving into view this outrageous looking thing, which I'm going to describe from the top down. So it looks I'll just say it, it looks pretty phallic. So it's actually a 3D printed Falcon rocket. So it's super tall and narrow and it's a long shaft and that's just what it is. And we had this already in the house because we
Okay.
3D print things. So this existed. So what I've done is now it's got a little ornamental sock on the top and some safety pins and I'm moving it up the camera and there's ribbons dangling from it down in a not aesthetically unpleasing way. It looked kind of nice. And on the ribbons are way tags. So I'll explain what a way tag is. They're
Ah.
little differently sized and shapes. They're each about the size of something a key fob, something you might have on a keychain. So
Mhm.
I'm just moving it up the view here. So it just goes on and on and on. And then at the bottom there's stand, so it can stand on a desk, which it's about to do right now. And so each of these way tags, what the app's called Way Around, and what it does is it sends you with the starter kit with like 60 of these differently shaped little key fob sized things, and you open the app, you you put information onto the way tag. So you say read, and then it opens up a window with a text box. You put text in the text box, and then you hold up an individual way tag to your phone, and it goes boop, boop, and suddenly that text is now on the way tag so that
Mhm.
later when you come back to it, you hold your phone up to it and read the text that you input is read in your like on your phone voice is read back to you. So this has tons of applications, and it's an app that blind people use for identifying clothing or CDs or
Yeah,
food
labels.
items, whatever labels. Yeah, it's like a pen
Mhm.
friend version
Mhm.
sort of thing. So we had this lying around the starter kit and weren't doing anything with it. So I just had this brainwave. So I emailed all of our friends and I said, if you have any photos of us, particularly vacation photos, fun things, send them my way. So I ended up with about 60 photos of different times of our life together and different vacation spots, different people's houses, different friends,
This
and
is
I
so
ran them
sweet.
all through. I know, isn't it so sweet? Thank you for saying so.
Yes.
So I ran them all
Oh.
through AI and I fit in names where I could, and then I got them each photo description. So like this, I'm holding up one right now. If you put a phone up to it with the app, it might say 25 AI image of Jason and Chris standing at the cliffs of whatever, somewhere we travel, and it would give an AI description. And so this is something that he could just randomly during the day pick up the Wavelink or the phone and just check out a photo, and he won't know what it's going to be, just in the same way that
Sure.
sighted people do. And so what I personally found from this was like, I forgot about that. So
Yes.
now I know why sighted people take photos. Because back when I was young and my memory didn't suck, I think, why do you I don't need a photo to remember something. Like, you people are just lazy. But now that my memory truly is, the memory loss is real. So now when I was going through the photos, I'm like, I forgot about that place or that time or that
Yes.
picture where we were by the tree. And so now I get it. And so this is can be added to. So as time goes by, I'll just keep getting more photos. And so it's changed my relationship to photos and taking them, and do they matter, and why do I want them? And so
Mhm.
the sort of intersection of technologies of Way Around or something like it and AI photo description
That's so
inspired
creative.
me to make this crazy looking spaceship photo thing, but also to just think about photos. And now I'll hand my phone to my friends. Hey, can you grab a photo with that? Because I know I'll want it for, when the
Sure.
memory loss progresses even more. And I forgot about that concert or whatever thing.
First of all, this
Yeah,
is
so it went over well.
adorable. Yeah, I bet
Mhm.
it did. I have a couple follow-up questions, but I also wanted to say it's like not just that it reminds you, like it triggers the memory of that particular trip or whatever experience you shared together, but also you might not even you might only remember it in a like an experiential way, but not in a photographic way, right? Like the
Totally.
descriptions
Oh, yeah.
now I'm when people send me memories, like, how Google will remind you of things that you've
Mhm.
done this time last year, whatever. When people send pictures like that into groups, like girls groups I'm in or family groups, and I put it through AI description, I'm like, "Oh, that's what it actually looked like," because I
Exactly.
don't actually have a recollection of the physical space
Mhm.
or, the ambiance or whatever, right? So that's such an
And you
added
didn't even
layer.
know.
No,
Yeah,
I
at
had
the
no idea.
time, you didn't have that level of description
Exactly.
because you were with friends who just weren't doing
They just
that, and
snapped a
that's
photo.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and
it's
so
so
I learned a
pretty.
ton by doing
Um,
it.
your thing, you said like up to 60 photos you got. Did you put all of that in WAY tags on
Yeah.
this device?
So yeah, so each way tag is an individual photo. So I could have fit a few photos per tag, but I wanted it to be just a distinct, like, pick
One.
one,
Uh-huh.
and get a surprise. So you
And
could
when you
put
put
more.
your phone up to it, does it get confused by other nearby? Because this is a lot
They're
of WAY
pretty
tags in
close
a
together.
close
It is,
proximity.
yeah. So you would have to be. I've put them far enough apart, like they're about 10 centimeters apart
Okay.
each, I would say, so you can. And the ribbons are flexible, so you can lift one and be pretty distinct that you're holding that specific one
Nice.
up to the phone. Up to the phone, and it's addable. You can add to it as as more things happen,
Sure.
as more trips happen. And she's like, I've so often thought, like, we go to a lot of shows, a lot of music, and I know I've forgotten stuff, and I sometimes I think I should write stuff down. I should keep a little journal or something of the fun things, because they're all great. Like, in the moment you have
Yeah.
such a good time, but then maybe you forget. And so now there's like this photo op thing that we can just, hey, take a photo, take a few minutes to AI it, store it away, and every
Mhm.
few months or maybe once a year go through and just add it. It's like the sighted people do, those dear
It
sighted people. Yeah, with photo.
scrapbooks and journaling and all that, and
Yeah,
now you
yeah.
can do all of that digitally too, right? Like, people
Yeah.
use Day One, but Apple came out with their journal app as well, where you can just multimedia the heck out of your entries. Like, you're not just writing and putting dates and locations in, but you can add voice clips and photos and videos, which is super
Oh,
helpful. Yeah, it's super helpful because now you can do all that, right? Like, tag your photos in and then add your AI descriptions to that, so it's completely accessible to you and whoever looks at it later.
cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
about that one. That's really neat.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
helpful. Um, Nisreen, do you keep track of memories in certain ways like this? Like, do you scrapbook or anything?
I do. I actually have a couple. I love putting like each trip in a separate album. So I'll buy like
Ooh,
separate albums for each trip, and
physical photos?
And my family like makes fun of me even though they are major picture takers. But yeah, because I love keeping those memories. Like I have a box full of albums um of all our trips and whatever it is, and
That's
it's
sweet.
it's you forget, as you said, like I feel like my memory is deteriorating, like it's not. I mean,
It's
you
real.
forget all those
It's
trips and those
real.
It is.
experiences. No, it is for sure real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like albums and scrapbooking is fun. I
Yeah.
never got into scrapbooking until like recently, until last year. So that's so much fun to add like a little description for each picture, and add like um as you said, like a ribbon from that experience or a ticket. Like I love adding like
Mm.
plane tickets just from that
Oh.
experience, and you attach it beside those pictures, and it's fun. It's nice. It's nice for memories, and like when you have like kids of your own, you want to show those memories. I
Yes,
love
of
looking at my
course.
my parents' old albums just to see like who's who and what experiences they had. So yeah, I want
If
those
you can recognize
same
all the babies.
memories. Yeah.
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 And Chris, like you're really inspiring me actually with this idea because there are other things. Like for example, I collect shot glasses when I travel, and now I have this cupboard full of shot glasses, and I cannot remember just I used to think just by the physical shape of it or whatever
Mhm,
I'd be able to
mhm,
tell,
mhm.
right? Tactile.
Yeah.
And now, like 30, 40, 50 shot glasses in, I'm like,
Wow.
I don't know what this is.
Mhm.
I think this is from this other trip. And instead of like maybe every time going to get a new AI description of it, because now we can say that by default, it might be nice to just label with a tag and then be able
Mhm.
to pick it up and recognize
Mhm.
where this is from.
Yeah.
And you could do that with
Yeah, yeah.
anything like mementos or collections.
I had a really sweet experience too because one of the friends that I solicited from, she sent half a dozen or so, and I didn't ask anyone to describe, but she actually told like when this photo was taken, we were doing this, and it really meant a lot to me because of X. And so we
Oh,
haven't come across those yet, but I included those too because oh my gosh, I was tearing up, like because
that's
photos mean
sweet.
a lot to other people, and in a way that I don't think I'll ever truly understand. Like I get now, I'm starting to understand the memory part, but um, just the fact that like one of the photos, my friend said, I hardly have any photos, but this one of you and
Mm.
Jason I keep on my wall because and
Aw.
so
Really?
it also had the opportunity for me to start to understand what they mean for other people, and it was it's really
Mm,
heartwarming. It's very,
that's
very sweet.
sweet. It's
Yeah.
actually really nice to hear that people are still like enjoying physical photos.
I love
Eunice
yeah.
and your
I
friends,
know,
It's
Chris?
I was
such a
struck by that
different
too.
experience than having it on your
Yes.
phone, because honestly, like you can lose your phone at any time. Your
Oh
phone
gosh.
may not be backed up. Like there's so many
Yeah.
things that can happen. And I love just feeling the actual pictures. I love
Mhm.
printing them out, and it's just
Curated too.
a different
Like
experience just looking through them. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. And also like you have, let's say 250 photos from that one weekend trip on your phone because you
Oh,
just kept snapping, right? Like
Yeah.
snap, snap, snap. Whereas like an album of the best of the trip is different. It's curated.
Yeah.
It's That's
yeah.
lovely.
I mean, it's a drag just deleting the duplicates and the messed up ones instead of printing out wasteful pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of it, it will look so nice. It's nice to look through. Like I love looking through physical photos rather than my phone.
And sentimental, I think, the effort of it, which is exactly
Hmm.
what Chris's present to Jason is. Wow.
Mm.
Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
We Happy New Year. We'll chat
Happy
in
New
2
Year.
weeks.
Okay.
And in 2 weeks, when we chat with Chris Malec, maybe we can update her on how well we've been doing with kitchen organization. Because
Oh
I found this
boy.
article in this. Yeah, let's get right into it, okay?
Let's expose
Because
ourselves.
it's just yeah, rip the Band-Aid, guys. We're gonna talk about how gross we are. And Jordan Steves, who's teching today, is gonna be part of this convo. Happy New Year, Jordan, by the way.
Happy New Year. I'm excited to
Oh,
tell
he's
everybody
not
how
nervous.
gross I am.
Yeah. Don't be nervous. I think the
Mm,
three of us are going to fall into similar categories because we had a pre-chat about this. Okay, so 10 things that you should throw away in your kitchen before January 1st, 2025. And we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of like why or how or whatever, but these were the 10 things, okay? Old sponges.
mm,
Who's going
mm.
first? When's the last time you threw
Okay,
away a sponge?
when I have to throw away a sponge when they start to like tear apart or the color changes, that's when I'm like, I need a new
Ugh,
sponge. And
color
it's
changes.
and you know what you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like it
No.
does not look like when it's a yellow sponge and it just gets darker, but
It
I
gets
sound nasty just
Well,
saying
scrappy.
that.
I was gonna say if I can just jump in here for a second. I buy these like kind of sub-organic. I don't know if they're organic, but they're supposed to be like compostable materials. They're these
Okay.
little white pads, and they go from white to not
Merc.
white anymore. And I've been using this one that I threw out today for probably about I
Say
can't
it.
even say, guys.
Just
It's
say it.
Just
A
say
bad.
it.
year.
It's
6
got
months.
to be like 4 months, 5 months.
Okay. All
It
right.
was ripping.
Good.
It was
You
not looking
can't keep
Gross.
a
good.
sponge for a year. That like there's no way.
No, no, that's
There's
pretty
no
bad. That's
way.
pretty bad. That's
That's pretty
actually pretty
bad.
bad.
I would say
But
like
also, like,
3 months. That's
yeah,
when it's a good time.
dude, I think they recommend 2 weeks.
Oh my
It said,
god.
okay, yeah, here we go. A
This is
2022
bad.
study in the Journal of Applied Microbiology found that used kitchen sponges are host to a plethora of harmful bacteria. Ugh.
Oh
It's
my
also interesting to
god.
note that the study found after 4 weeks of use, it's kind of an on the contrary. After 4 weeks of use, there were no differences in the amount of bacteria between conventional sponges and antimicrobial sponges. Also, brushes used to wash dishes harbor less bacteria than sponges, so it might be time to swap sponges for brushes. No, thank you. Do brushes even
No.
work? Do
I
brushes
feel
even
like
like I'm
brushes
seriously.
work for like pots and they're when it's like crusty at the bottom,
Are
that's
you
when I use
serious?
my
What kind of
brushes.
brushes do you use? Because my brushes do not work for anything, and especially for tough stains. I use
No,
them
I
for
have to
bottles.
no, I forgot the name of it, but it's been popular. Like I've seen it on TikTok a lot,
You
and
gotta
it really
send me that.
helps with like those like when the rice sticks at the bottom of your pot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's just helpful to me because sometimes the sponge doesn't do it justice. Like it
I don't know,
doesn't
man.
work
I feel
out.
like with a little bit of elbow grease and maybe some soaking, but sponges have never.
I
I've never
think
understood
if
them.
I can just jump in, I think it's meant to be submersible because if you think about using a brush outside of water, like you're gonna spray stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it
exactly.
has to be used, and it makes sense to be used underwater too, because a brush is really powerful. Like you were saying,
Hmm.
Nisreen, like reserve
Huh.
it for stuff that's caked on there and not really ready to come off with like a lighter sponge. Like you know how you let it soak for a bit and it just comes off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have time to wait for that, and you need something a little bit more heavy
Uh,
duty. That's where the brush comes in.
You
okay,
also
maybe
need
I'm
to
just
be
not buying
careful
heavy
because
duty
some of
brushes.
your dishes can get scratched from
Yeah,
some types of brushes. So
I
you need
think you
to
guys are
like
buying
do your
legit brushes.
research.
I think my brushes are coming from the dollar store. That's what I'm starting to understand here. Like, I'm
No
talking about
judgment for the dollar store.
very cheap
Sometimes it's the
brushes, maybe.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like straw cleaners and stuff. Yeah, man.
Okay,
Anyways,
but how
All my
often do
stuff is
you
from
change your
Dollarama.
sponges, Rems? Because you didn't expose yourself
oh
for that
no, no,
one.
yeah, it's like same thing around 3 months, 2, 3 months. Like, but it has to be tactile. Remember, I can't tell color or any of that. So my
Yeah.
sponge probably looks gross for so long, and I just have no idea until I
Maybe when it
feel.
gets too flat. Do you know what I mean? When your
Yeah, it's
sponge
when okay,
feels
you know
too
when it
flat?
is? It's when it doesn't bounce back anymore. You know how like sponges after they dry, they're supposed to be like nice again, like squishy. But when
Yeah.
your sponge just doesn't go back to a state of neutrality anymore.
Oh boy. So you said we're supposed to change it every 2 to 4 weeks, right?
4 weeks.
Well,
Yeah.
good luck.
Also, people do talk about cleaning sponges. I don't know when the last time it was that you guys deliberately cleaned your sponge, but it says you can extend the life of your kitchen
Ah,
sponge by microwaving it or boiling it. I've never done that in my
I've also
life.
seen a life hack where you could just put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Okay, hang on,
actually does
hang
anything.
on.
What?
Microwaving or boiling your
Yeah.
sponge. Okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Who
give me
does
a
that?
second. I'm sorry.
It's awesome.
clearly none of
Who
us have
actually
been
does that?
familiar.
No.
So, anyways, I think we started at the grossest one, but let's keep going. The second one is worn out cutting boards. Because
Ugh,
I have a cutting board that I've had for like 2.5 years.
no way.
Yeah.
Okay, did you guys secretly like make this about me or
So
He's relating to all of
yeah,
this.
I
Did
have
you
a
did you
change
beat
cutting
your
me on
board that
cutting
that?
I
How
board
need to
long have
today
you
throw
had
too?
your
out.
cutting board?
Oh, probably
Also,
about a year and a half, maybe two
okay.
years. It needs to be thrown out though. It's
It
bad.
needs
Yeah.
to be, yeah, it's like probably chipped and worn and all that other good stuff.
Now, I
And
I have a
also,
follow-up question.
yeah.
Do you have like specific cutting boards for different things, like one for meat, one for bread, etc.?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I
I
have two
do.
cutting boards, one for meat, one for everything non-meat.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Like I do have one big one for the meat and
Yeah,
the other two that are
because
different
meat's gross.
sizes.
Like that is
Yeah, like you
serious
don't want to
cross contamination.
contaminate it.
No,
Um, but
but
but I
but
used to have a wooden cutting board and that's when it just doesn't clean no more. Like you can see the color change. You could feel the texture like change as
yes,
well. Buying a wooden cutting board, like it looks super cute, aesthetic even, okay? But it's just not it. Like you can tell it does not, and you have to like wash it right away because it gets
you have to
ruined.
wash it. You had to
You have to
throw it out
wash
more
it, dry
frequently
it
because it chips
pretty
and stuff.
quickly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly. So I recently got new cutting boards, thankfully. So
Which
this
are what? Plastic? Like,
they're
what's the
yeah,
alternative?
they're plastic, yeah.
Question mark?
I
Um,
question mark, I don't know the material of
Stone?
cutting
Can
boards.
you get stone cutting boards? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Because,
But then they get
yeah,
scratched easily, no? Like you
yeah,
have to
exactly.
Stone
Yeah,
would chip, yeah. I don't think you
yeah.
want to would. I don't think you would want stone because you would eat that too, right? I mean, you eat plastics.
yeah.
Is it any worse than that?
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
See, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're supposed to have different cutting boards for everything. Like fruits and vegetables is one, bread is one, meat is another, seafood is another. Like you're supposed to be super disciplined about this stuff apparently as well. I
Yeah,
have
not
one
so
tiny
much.
cutting board for everything not meat and one cutting board for meat, and I'm telling you, I only replace my cutting boards if I have literally broke them in half, because that has happened. That was the last time I got a cutting board.
No way. It broke in half?
Broke in half. I'm not sure why or how that happened. Maybe I was using a butcher knife incorrectly. Anyway, old utensils. Like they
Okay.
just want you to replace your old utensils because what did they say? Oh yeah, pieces of rubber can disintegrate into your hot liquids or food.
Mm,
Chip wood from your wooden spatula can get into your food, break off into a recipe. I have
yeah.
never considered any of this as a thing.
Okay. I replace my utensils when I do feel like I feel like the plastic ones, they
Those are
do chip
easier to know.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they melt.
When they
Oh,
chip
it's so
off, oh,
gross.
they melt. They're so annoying.
Yeah,
Super
they're
annoying.
imagine all that is
Because
in
you
our
can only
food.
use it a few times and then you could start to see like you can see it just chipping off,
Right.
melting, and it's just it looks so bad at that point. It doesn't look
Mhm.
nice. Um for the spoons and forks and knives, I don't replace them until I feel like I need to change up the look of my kitchen. Do you get me? So like
Yeah, okay, so
now my
you're
all
like
my
aesthetics
utensils,
first.
yeah, I put
Same
aesthetics
Mac.
first to be honest. Because all my utensils are gold, from
Right.
spatulas to spoons to everything in between.
Oh,
They're all
girl.
gold to match my kitchen. But
Are they
before, like,
are they
yeah,
productive? Like, do
they
they
are.
work? Yeah?
Got them from
They're
Amazon,
gold
and they're
spatulas?
yeah, and
Okay, yeah,
they look great. Like
I don't know, I've
they've
been
been
loving, like, the
really.
silicone I always need wooden spoons. I have wooden spoons of all sizes, lengths, and
Mhm,
capacities, but also, the silicone stuff has become a good favorite in the kitchen.
yeah. What
I'm
about
thinking
you,
of trying
Jordan?
gold silicone.
Uh, Plastic, nylon.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I do feel like the
You're old
silicones
school.
do burn more, no? Like they melt off more?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. Silicone's great for heat resistance or high heat situations.
Yeah.
And they don't ruin your pots, like your nonstick pots or other pots.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, unused appliances and their instruction booklets. Guys,
Oh
I don't
boy.
keep any instruction booklets anymore. You know how we used to
Really?
think yeah. You know when you buy things, like a TV or something else complicated and you're like, "I'm gonna keep the booklet around for a bit," and then
Oh
that bit
boy.
turns into 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years, and then you're like, "Oh, wow. Yeah, we don't need this anymore," and toss it
Yeah,
out.
I
N Now it's just
I do
gone,
that.
like, as soon as I buy things. No
No,
instruction
That's
booklet.
hilarious
no.
because that happens every time, and every time I'm like, I should keep this. Just you never know.
Just in
This
You
is
never
gonna be
case.
the
know.
time
You
that I
never
actually
know.
need it. Even
Uh-huh.
though I could
Just
just
in
look it up
case.
online.
Online,
Yeah, you
guys.
could easily
Just use
look it up
the internet.
online no
Yeah.
matter what, but
They
I
shouldn't
always
even
keep
have to provide you with instruction booklets anymore. There should be a QR
I
code on the box.
keep like I kept my air fryer box for a long period of time before I
You
threw it
keep
out.
boxes too?
I keep boxes.
Oh, that
I
is
have like the
generational.
yeah, I keep boxes and it's really bad. Like I have a closet full of boxes that I haven't used.
Oh,
I haven't touched. I haven't
my.
looked at. I haven't even opened up the closet since
My
then.
mother's
So it's
garage. That's what
yeah.
that closet
And the
is.
booklets are in the
Box
boxes. So it's like whenever I
okay.
need it, just in case I need to like,
Just
you know,
just do it. Just do
it's
it.
really
Just
bad. I
get
need
rid
to
of
throw it out.
everything. Just do it. Okay? You if
I
you
need
want, you
somebody to
can
come
cross
over and actually
Mhm.
get rid of these
I'll be there.
boxes
When
because
I come
alone I
over for
wouldn't
my
do it.
Nespresso run, I'll be there to help you throw out
I
boxes.
have the
And
Nespresso box.
okay.
Okay, first of all, I love the thing about the QR code. I just died at the boxes thing. It's
Y-
That's
just like you
right?
keep the
Yeah.
boxes, and I died.
You keep the
Yeah.
boxes,
I
and
I think you do you not keep the box for like a week just in case it's broken or something, or
no,
you got to
no, that's what
return
I'm
it? No.
saying. It used to be, yes, I would keep the boxes for a week and then
Yeah,
2 weeks,
yeah.
but now instruction manuals, boxes, everything is out.
Well, not yeah. Well, not for that purpose. Yeah, for that
Yeah.
purpose of like going back and being like, oh, how does this work now?
Yeah,
You never
Mm,
no.
would do that. Yeah.
I think the only thing that should come with physical instruction still is IKEA and, like, other things that you're putting together, but other
hmm
than that, no. No, please throw your boxes away. PSA. Unused oh, yeah, we already said this. Takeout condiments, straws, and cutlery. Guys, I used to keep
I
a whole bunch. Like, I'd have a freezer bag full of condiments, and then I just throw the whole thing out once a year anyway, so now I just don't keep any of it. But now it's better 'cause
yeah.
on Uber Eats, you could just say, "Don't send me anything."
Yeah, I made a point after I moved out to not stick with that habit anymore,
Mhm.
except chopsticks. I keep my chopsticks
For aesthetic reasons?
for aesthetic reasons,
Of
and
course.
I love my sushi, and I always feel like they forget to put chopsticks in my meal, so
Just in case.
just in case, it's always like the just in case line is used for
Yes.
everything in
Yeah,
my
of
day to
course.
day. Yeah.
It's literally it's this the scarcity mentality.
But do
That's my
you
mom, she's like,
keep the
"Just in case."
yeah, the fast food coupons that you get in the mail?
Coupons? I haven't kept any physical mail that doesn't feel like a legit envelope with addressed to me for actual reasons, it just goes in the garbage. If it feels glossy, it's going in recycling.
Mhm.
No coupons. That's
Yeah.
the short answer.
I've been good
Um,
with that.
but have you ever actually run into a time where you're like, "I wish I kept a ketchup packet because I don't have any more ketchup?
I
Darn
hate
it."
ketchup, so no, I can't
Oh,
relate.
okay. Got it. Can't relate.
No,
Kitchen
because that's
magnet?
always gonna be your excuse to keep a ketchup
Obviously.
like, that's
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
starts.
That was a
That's how it
test and you
starts.
passed. Good.
Yeah, you
Kitchen
failed.
magnets? I don't have any kitchen magnets. Do you?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't keep anything
Old
on my kitchen.
Spices? Yeah, this is actually very applicable here. Spices where you don't even remember when you bought them. Like, you're supposed to keep spices whole spices can last 2 to 4 years, ground spices 3 years at room temperature, but if you've opened up your spices and started using them and then you're not properly caring for them, then you should be throwing them out more often than not.
I don't
They don't
feel
even
like
work
the
after a certain
spices
point.
last for more than a year
That's
with
fair.
me.
Yeah, because we
I
cook
run
with
out of
real
spices
spices.
so much, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And coffee. Apparently coffee, once you open it, it's supposed to be only a couple weeks that it lasts, even when properly
No
stored.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm a coffee addict, so it never really,
It doesn't last.
there's no leftovers. They yeah, it
All
doesn't
your
last
coffee
very
is
long.
used.
Yeah.
Uh, Cooking oil? Cooking oil is an interesting one, okay? Because I don't think we think about this enough, actually. So, while some cooking oils can last up to a year after opening, not all of them do. A bottle of olive oil, as an example,
Mhm.
only it lasts for several months after it's open. I have definitely bought gigantic
Really?
flavored olive oils that I like use sparingly and still use like a year and a half. I don't even know if
And
it's
they wow, they last?
how do
Because
you
you
know
buy
it's supposed to
the
taste or it tastes the way it's supposed to? That's my question.
yeah, how do you know if it goes bad?
Yeah, it's oil. Like, maybe there's a visual thing for certain oils, but, like, I
Mhm.
can't tell. Mm-mm. Anyways, freezer burn food is the last one. If your
Ah,
food
yeah,
is
I
being
need to go
freezer
through
burned,
my
you're doing something
freezer.
wrong. Ew, really?
I need to go through my freezer. Don't say "ew," really, like, you need to go through your
I
freezer too.
started that sentence with, "If your food is getting freezer burned, you're doing something wrong. You need to check what's going on there." And you said, "I
What's
need to check
freezer
my
burn?
freezer."
Like,
Like,
what
if
does
your
that
ice
even mean?
cream smells like your freezer and doesn't smell like ice cream anymore,
Oh,
you know what I
no.
mean?
I
Or
honestly clean out my fridge and freezer, like, every couple months.
yeah,
Like,
that's
I don't
proper.
do it weekly as I should.
But that's the way it should be. You should be cleaning it every couple months. And the thing is, like, okay, you know how we freeze meat and all that stuff, like raw meat.
Mhm.
You're not supposed to leave that stuff in there for, I don't know, more than a couple months. Just because
Really?
it's frozen. Yeah, just because it's frozen, it doesn't mean that it's supposed to stay in there for a year, no matter how
Oh.
it's packaged or any of that. Like, it still gets to it.
No, not to the extent of a year, but, like,
No.
for a couple of months,
All that
I've
stuff at the
had
back of the freezer, like,
chicken, last a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
of
yeah,
months
yeah.
because
Yeah, a
we buy
couple
in
months.
bulk and then put them
That's
in
the
bags
thing.
for each meal.
We buy in bulk, and it's like one person, two-person households.
Yeah.
So you're trying to maximize, and that's the other thing. While I was reading through this article, I'm not gonna lie, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, who is replacing all of this stuff all the time? Like cleanliness and sanitation and contamination is one thing, right? Because yeah, part
Yeah.
of the stuff is just gross. You need to replace your sponges. But the other part of it is like um food waste or household waste or like more plastic and things like that.
Mhm.
Like we're just tossing all the time. There's not a lot of reuse, uh, sentimentality from this.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah, questionable, but I feel like, yeah, we
questionable.
need to get more people on this because I wanna know how other
'Cause
people are
'cause we're
cleaning their
not.
household.
Just put it out there. Let's see who else would be honest with us. We were honest.
Yeah,
And if you put on Twitter or Instagram, the question of how often we throw out our kitchen sponges, we didn't even get to other parts of the house. We didn't say washroom sponges. Like, we've been very nice. We're just
a
talking about
new
the kitchen.
Twitter poll question for the day
Yeah, exactly, to
about
kick off the new year.
organization
Throw out
discipline.
your stuff. Yes. Rebecca Dingwell is joining us on today's show as well, and we're gonna get into celebrity, I wanna say gossip, but worship. But before we do, Rebecca, do you have anything to add? We'll leave it open-ended about organization or discipline
Mhm.
of organization. You don't have to out
I'm just
yourself
gonna
on
say
anything.
like I'm just gonna say like in this economy, I don't know, man. Like
Right?
most things I'm gonna keep until they break. I think when we're talking
Mhm.
about bathroom stuff, I'm gonna be a little bit more liberal with tossing, but
Yeah, yeah,
in general, yeah, you gotta make stuff last.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
too
like
many
with
things are disposable now.
toothbrushes, obviously, you're gonna change them very frequently because 'cause
Mhm.
it ends up being
And
nasty.
washroom cleaning supplies and
Yeah,
whatever, because
as
that's just
yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point. But for
yeah.
sponges to change them every 2 weeks, that's a lot of money, like, you're
That's a
gonna be
lot of
No,
spending.
yeah,
weight.
that's whack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I'm
Is
glad
whack
we're on the
coming
same
back?
page.
Is whack coming back in 2025? I love it. I
Yeah.
grew up with
I just
whack.
I start to say things ironically and then they become part of my vocabulary. So I also say slay a lot. Like I used to say it as a joke
Oh,
and now
boy.
I just find myself saying it. It's a problem.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about celebrity worship.
Mhm.
You're a writer, you're an editor, and you're interested in
Mhm.
online trends and pop culture as well. So, what is celebrity
Mhm.
worship? What got you thinking about it?
So I went to the Eras tour in November. And then when I got back, I got really sick. And I was like, what do I watch? Maybe I'll watch this show that came out in 2023 that I never got around to. And it's a show called Swarm. And it got a lot of hype when it first came out. Donald Glover was involved. And it follows this young woman named Dre who experiences a tragedy, and she's already obsessed with this artist named Nija, but it kind of just increases tenfold after this tragedy that she
Mm,
experiences. And Nija is not, it's not subtle at all. She's Beyonce. It's like a stand-in for Beyonce, this character, but
okay.
it's sort of it's a dark comedy horror kind of. She actually ends up killing people over this artist she loves, and it just gets increasingly more wild. So it's clearly a satire on how we as people get obsessive over the artists and actors and such that we admire, and how that can kind of take over your psyche and your life in negative ways. And it's obviously, like I said, very exaggerated. But I think that when I was coming back from the Eras tour, I was part of this Facebook group, Eras tour in Toronto, where people were just discussing outfits, activities, all that kind of stuff. And the kind of messages that were coming through and how people were enabling each other in behavior that was maybe not good or not healthy. So, for example, somebody came on being like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to get tickets to Vancouver," or like, maybe I should just fly to Vancouver for the last shows, even though I don't have any more like vacation days for work. And everybody else in the comments was just egging this person on, being like, "Yeah, do it. It's so worth it." And I was like, what? Like, this is not something that we should be encouraging. Like, if somebody wants to spend their money that way, then sure, have at it. But, we shouldn't be encouraging this or egging somebody on when they're perhaps leading towards a decision that is maybe not a good idea.
Right.
um, yeah, I just thought that was a little bit wild, and it kind of reminded me of that opening scene in Swarm, or one of the opening scenes when Dre is on her computer and she has a bunch of maxed out credit cards, and she's just got a new one pulled up to buy Nija tickets for $1,300 or whatever it is.
That's
And
wild.
you
Wow.
just, yeah, you just see her digging herself this hole. But it's, for some people, that is the reality. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And it's not about shaming people for what they like or what they want to spend their money on. It's just kind of more like, okay, well, is this sustainable? And what are people willing to sacrifice for this kind of thing? And it's gotten weird. And I think social media definitely contributes to it too.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So it's interesting because we can look at the celebrity side of things, right? And how they go through the experience of being worshipped, or like the psyche, as you said, right? Like our individual
Mhm.
kind of I don't know, rabbit hole, really, but yeah, like
Yeah,
that side of worshiping and how excessive it can get and how normalized we've made it. And I think generally speaking, as a society, we've normalized the heck out of celebrity worship slash just like too
yeah.
much. Like we just know too much about too many people, and to the point
Mhm.
where I was reading this article. I can't source it, but I was reading this article, and it just kept saying, and it was one of these like gossip columns, right? And it just kept saying, like, and sources say she was this, and sources say it was that, and sources close to the family are saying dot dot dot. And I'm thinking, who are these sources? Like, aren't we supposed to have that information? Like, has it come to the point where we don't even care where we're getting this stuff from as long as it's published in some way or another, we're down to believe
Believing
it?
it. Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
wild
for
to
sure.
me.
Mhm.
And this might be, it's kind of ironic that I'm saying this because I don't actually know what the source is for this information. But I remember hearing years ago that Adele used to tell, if she suspected somebody in her life was leaking stuff to the press, she'd tell slightly different versions of the same story to those people. So when and if it did leak, she would know who was backstabbing her and would be able to cut that person off. So I was like, oh, that's like
Yeah,
kind of dystopian, but also kind of smart.
unbelievable. And is
Hmm.
there I think it's easy to just, ogle at this and be like, "Wow, this is a thing that's actually happening." But are there people that we're obsessed about? Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty obsessed about
Um,
certain celebrities.
yeah, like I'm trying to think of who's kind of like Hosier is pretty big for me right now.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And I do have to check myself sometimes and just be like he's just a guy, but he's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that
Um,
mean, though? What does that mean, check yourself? Like,
uh,
how do we know
like
we've gone too
Like,
far
not
in?
to get too obsessive. I
Mm,
can relate to
mhm.
this. The last time I remember being too obsessive was me falling for Nick Jonas. And this was like middle school, high school days, guys.
yes.
I just have to
I mean,
remind you all that I had pictures on my locker, and in my head I'm like, I'm going to marry this dude. It's going to happen. He's going to know I exist. And then I'm like, this is really pathetic. I
Mm.
that's when I checked myself and I'm like, okay, he's
But that
just a
happened
guy.
internally for you, right? Like wow,
Yeah.
I've gone really far up this. Right.
Yeah, like it's when I had too many pictures of him on like in my room, and I really wanted to like I don't know, it was just too much. And
Yeah.
just the idea of everybody's like, "Oh, she's obsessed with Nick Jonas," like, and I'm like, I don't want that reputation. I don't
Mm.
I don't need that reputation that I was obsessed with this guy. But that's the last time I remember being too obsessed with a celebrity. But nowadays I'm not really, you know, that in love with celebrities.
Well, I guess the question
um,
is really when does it become dangerous, right? Because
Yeah.
you
yeah,
When you know too
right,
much about the celebrity, that's when it becomes too dangerous. And I've known like friends that were obsessed with One Direction and like Harry Styles. Like they, I knew a girl
mhm.
that knew everything about him,
right.
everything you could think of.
But
His,
like, is it even fandom anymore when you do that?
it's scary. Like it's creepy. It's creepy. Like when she tells me that
Yeah,
information, I'm like, no, it's too much. Back off. But like,
Mhm.
I don't know, I think it's hard for people to click for that it's just a guy, it's just a man, like, who's a
To
and
singer.
humanize them again?
To
I
humanize
think
him
there's
again.
also like when you're a kid or a teenager, I think a lot of people go through that phase of like you
Yeah.
first come across somebody that like you feel like you really click with for whatever
Sure.
reason. And I think that like you most people will grow out of that at some point, but I think as an adult, yeah, it can become toxic when like for example you're spending money you don't have to go to
Yep.
Mhm.
shows, or you're if you live in a bigger city, if you're camping out at hotels this person might be staying at, if you're doing stuff that is like a little bit stuff, if it's like to get a
Yeah.
glimpse of this person who does not know and does not care about you is like
And I think
I've
that
the biggest thing.
Yeah.
that's that's an interesting point, Rebecca, who does not know and does not care about you because celebrities like have become very accessible to us, right? Celebrities are on Instagram. They're on our TikTok feeds and whatever. That's one thing, like the social media, but also they're giving us glimpses into their personal lives. Like there's not much left off the table anymore. You have to be so
Yeah.
deliberate to not have
Yeah.
your personal life shared out there. And so it makes us feel like we're entitled, essentially, right? By default, it feels like we obviously get to know these people. We have the right to because they're out there and they're famous, and now we get to know their family and their friends, and we get to threaten them or love them or admire them or support
Mhm.
them, right? Because like a lot of it is positive, but not all has to be. Um, and then I think like if we take someone like Taylor Swift and everything that she experiences, where do you draw the line? Like, I remember thinking, when is she gonna tell us who she's voting for or where she's sitting on the spectrum of the election, the US election last
Mm,
year? Because she waited, right? She waited and she milked that. And same thing with Beyonce. Like, there were times when you were like, ooh, when is this celebrity gonna tell us what they're up to? But they can kind of be strategic about it and deliberate about it, but also, do we ever say, like, they don't have to tell us something? We don't need to know
Yeah.
where they stand.
yeah.
And to that point, I remember there's been recent conversations about Chapel Roan because she's kind of been pushing back against that stuff
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
saying, you don't know me. I appreciate that you love my music, but like we're not friends.
we're not friends.
And she even said that she was like, yeah, I'm probably voting for Kamala Harris, but I am not comfortable endorsing her in that way because I
Mhm.
disagree with a lot of her policies. I have a lot of issues with her stance on Israel and Palestine and that sort of thing. And people got really mad and said, this is so irresponsible of her. This is equivalent to
Exactly.
voter suppression because she's spreading misinformation. And I'm just like, you can't win.
You can't
Um,
win.
You
as
can't
much
win.
as yeah,
Yes.
on one hand, like, yeah, if you have a voice and you have power, ideally you would be, you'd be like, this activist and whatever. But when we think about it, like somebody like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, they're billionaires. They
Yeah,
operate in this world on a level that is so different from the average Joe,
that's right.
peasants like us. Even if they say, oh well, I'm a feminist or I'm this or I'm that. It's like, okay, but you fundamentally do not understand the world in the way that
Not
most people
anymore.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
just because the way your life is,
Yeah.
especially people like them who've been famous since they were teenagers.
Mhm.
And that's just the way it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that
We
they're
don't live in the same
evil or
world.
anything. It just,
No, no,
yeah,
Mhm.
no.
it's
No,
just,
we're in different
yeah.
worlds. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's like who are we looking to, and why
Exactly.
is very interesting.
Yeah. And we do, like, um there's just too much of everything now. So sometimes we get roped in and not necessarily understand how deep we're in it, right? Like, it's so
Mhm.
Yeah.
easy to be obsessed with a celebrity. It's so easy. Like, you don't have to go looking. You just have to spend the time on it. And you could spend days and days and days and days becoming obsessed and then not even realize, like, when you've lost that
Yeah.
footing into reality. Anyway, Rebecca,
Yeah.
thank you. Nasreen, thank you. Always fantastic conversations here on the show. It's Kelly and Company. Join us tomorrow when we're talking about Bard Card with Michael Fair. It's an iOS game that's very accessible for blind people, so he'll tell us about that. And Ryan Chin, our financial advisor, is going to talk about what we're saying as Canadians about rising prices and the way that it's impacting our day-to-day lives. Catch us then.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.